There's a kind of pain that doesn't bleed. It doesn't scream. It doesn't leave a visible scar. But it kills something sacred inside you. It's called disrespect. You felt it when someone interrupts you mid-sentence, when your ideas are brushed off like dust, when your kindness is seen as weakness. And perhaps the most tragic part, you stayed silent. Machiavelli would have called that silence a mistake, not because you didn't fight back, but because you gave permission. Disrespect is a weed. Water it once with your silence, and it grows into your identity. This isn't just about ego, it's about power, it's about how the world sees you, and more dangerously, how you see yourself. So today, we go into the mind of Machiavelli to learn how to kill disrespect. Before it kills you, you've been taught to be kind, to be soft-spoken, to turn the other cheek. And while there's grace in that philosophy, there is also danger. Because when kindness is offered in a world that only respects strength, it becomes a form of currency no one values. It becomes invisible. You become invisible. This is where Machiavelli offers his brutal clarity. He didn't write The Prince for saints. He wrote it for survivors, for those standing at the edge of betrayal, powerless but hungry for understanding. He observed a world where good men were devoured, not because they lacked virtue, but because they lacked strategy. He wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved, if you must choose." But this doesn't mean to become cruel. It means to become undeniable. Fear, in Machiavelli's world, was never about violence. It was about boundaries. It was about commanding a presence so firm, so clear, that people think twice before crossing you. Now let's bring this to the modern world. You don't rule a kingdom, but you do rule your time, your space, your energy. And just like a ruler, if you don't guard your gates, they will be trampled. Think of respect like a mirror. It reflects only what you show it. If you stand tall, it reflects dignity. If you bow too quickly, it reflects something lesser, and people respond accordingly. Disrespect often comes disguised as casual, a joke at your expense, a compliment laced with condescension, a decision made without consulting you, and we brush it off. We laugh along, we stay silent, because we fear the confrontation, or worse, we doubt we're worthy of more. But every time you accept less, you train others to offer less. Not because they're evil, but because human nature is opportunistic. We test boundaries, often without knowing. And when we find no resistance, we push further. Machiavelli's lion and fox are not just metaphors for rulers. They are roles we must all embody in daily life. The fox sees the intentions beneath the words. It recognizes the trap of false praise, the bait of flattery, the mask of civility hiding subtle domination. The lion responds not with noise, but with presence. It doesn't roar at every threat. It stands, and that alone is enough. In practical terms, this means mastering the art of non-reaction. Not every insult requires a war, but every insult requires awareness. You may not call it out, but you adjust. You limit access. You stop sharing pieces of yourself with those who treat them carelessly. You don't beg for respect. You remove yourself until it becomes the only option. Power, in its purest form, is quiet. It is the calm that unnerves, the stillness that commands attention. When you know who you are, when you refuse to be disrespected, your silence becomes a language. Machiavelli understood the psychology of power deeply. He knew that people respond not to your inner world, but to the signal you send. Confidence, value, strength. These are not things you speak. They are things you embody. And in today's world, where so many are desperate to be liked, where validation is chased like currency, true self-respect has become rare. But rare things are valuable, and valuable things are treated differently. So how do you begin to shift this dynamic? You start by redefining kindness. True kindness does not mean tolerating mistreatment. It means choosing when and whom to offer it to. It means being generous, but not naive, compassionate, but not exploitable. Machiavelli would tell you, your value rises the moment you stop trying to prove it, the moment you stop explaining your worth. Stop over-apologizing. Stop shrinking to keep others comfortable. Because when you are grounded in your own dignity, you no longer need to chase external confirmation. People begin to feel your energy differently. They speak more carefully. They listen more closely. Because you are not seeking approval. You are commanding recognition. Disrespect dies in the face of unwavering self-respect. That's art, not to retaliate with equal harm, but to outgrow the space where disrespect lives, to rise beyond it, to let your presence become a standard, one that others must meet or lose access to. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. Alignment with the truth that your time is sacred. Your voice is valuable. Your heart is not a public park for careless feet. So stop explaining the impact of their words. Stop offering second chances to those who never earned the first. Stop confusing your silence with strength when it's actually fear in disguise. Instead, remember what Machiavelli understood so well: the world is not fair, but it is predictable. And those who understand human behavior, who learn the subtle laws of power, can move through life with precision and peace. That doesn't mean playing games. It means playing wisely, knowing when to speak, when to step back, when to cut ties not with anger, but with grace. Because the ultimate act of power is not retaliation. It is removal. And as you begin to live this way, you'll notice something extraordinary. The world will shift around you. People will rise to meet the standard you now embody. Or they will fall away. Either way, you win. This is how you kill disrespect. By mastering the dance of the lion and the fox. By becoming the kind of person whose silence feels louder than another's shouting. By remembering that the first person who must never disrespect you is you. And now, we step into the deeper mirror, into the space where these ideas leave the page and step into your real, lived experience. Where we ask ye, how does this philosophy breathe in your daily life? What does it look like when applied to your heart, your home, your voice? Let us reflect. Let us go deeper still. You've heard the lesson, the lion, the fox, the quiet strength that demands respect without ever asking for it. You've understood how tolerance of disrespect, however small or polite, becomes an invitation for more. But understanding it intellectually is not enough. The real transformation begins when this idea crawls off the page and walks into your life, into your relationships, into the rooms you sit in, into the mirror you stand before. Because it is in real life, not in theory, where the test is hardest. How do you kill disrespect when it comes from the people closest to you? What do you do when it comes from the one you love? From the family you cannot escape? From the friend you've known for years? It's easy to walk away from strangers. Harder when the wound wears a familiar face, because part of you still wants to be seen, to be chosen, to be understood. And that's the trap. That hope. That one day they'll change, or that your patience will teach them your value, is the lie that keeps you in the cycle. Machiavelli understood that sentimentality, when placed above sovereignty, destroys rulers. And it destroys people too. The brutal truth is this: disrespect doesn't always come in screams. Sometimes it comes in forgetfulness, in lack of acknowledgement, in being the last to be considered, the first to be blamed. And you may tell yourself, it's not intentional. But intention is not the measure. Impact is. If someone repeatedly steps on your boundaries, knowingly or unknowingly, they are still doing damage. A cut is still a cut, even if the blade didn't mean to fall. This is where most people falter. They wait for the disrespect to become undeniable. They wait for it to scream, but by then, it's too late. By then, your self-worth has already been corroded. Not shattered, but slowly dissolved, drip by drip, moment by moment. So how do you act earlier? How do you see the signs when they are still small? You learn to listen to the silence between moments, to how people make you feel when you leave their presence. Are you lighter or heavier? Do you feel more like yourself or less? The world rarely disrespects you suddenly. It does so suddenly. It tests your edges and waits to see if you flinch. And if you don't respond, it carves deeper, not out of malice, but because you taught it that your edges were suggestions, not rules. Now imagine you lived differently. Imagine every boundary you had was rooted not in fear, but in love for yourself. Imagine you corrected disrespect not with anger, but with clarity. Imagine you left places not because they rejected you, but because you rejected the version of yourself that had to beg for worth. This is where philosophy meets self-respect, and where self-respect becomes not an emotion, but a practice. Every time you choose not to explain your boundaries, you strengthen them. Every time you walk away from people who do not listen, you teach your soul it matters. Every time you stop negotiating your dignity for temporary peace, you become the ruler of your own life. And make no mistake, you are always training the world. With every yes, every no, every silence, you are teaching them what you allow. And more importantly, you are teaching yourself. Machiavelli understood this as well as any psychologist ever could. He knew that the mind justifies what the heart tolerates. That people stay in places where they are slowly destroyed because they've built narratives around it. They say, this is love, this is family, this is loyalty. But is loyalty still a virtue when it costs you your self-respect? When your identity must shrink to stay inside a room, you must ask yourself, is the room sacred? Or is it a prison dressed in nostalgia? The lion does not dwell in cages, and the fox does not return to snares. This is what it means to reflect, to truly look at your life and ask, where am I tolerating what should have ended long ago? Who am I allowing to speak to me in tones I would never accept from a stranger? And why? Often, the answer is rooted in our deepest fear, not of confrontation, but of abandonment. We fear that if we speak up, they will leave. That if we assert ourselves, we will be alone. But the truth is far more liberating. The people who disappear when you begin to respect yourself are the very ones who benefited from your disrespect. And their absence is not a loss. It is a clearing. The clearing where real respect can grow, where new people can arrive, ones who don't flinch when you are firm, who doesn't punish you for having a spine, who doesn't confuse your boundaries for rejection. These people exist, but they only find you when you become someone who no longer hides in people-pleasing. When you become someone who would rather be alone than surrounded by those who diminish you. This is the greatest form of strength. Not loud, not aggressive, but the kind of stillness that cannot be shaken. A self-respect that is not performance, but essence. And in this way, Machiavelli's wisdom becomes something personal. Not just about states and rulers, but about the state of your inner kingdom. Are you ruling with intention? Or are you letting others make laws in your territory? Are you defending your crown? Or letting it fall to the ground each time someone disapproves? These are not abstract questions. They are the daily decisions that shape your identity. Each time you let someone speak over you, each time you minimize your feelings to avoid discomfort, each time you smile through disrespect, you are giving away a brick from the foundation of your castle. But the beautiful truth is you can rebuild. Any moment, any day, you can decide now, here in this breath, that disrespect has no home in your life, not because you're better than others, but because you've remembered your own value. You can be kind and clear. You can be loving and firm. You can be soft without being walked on, and powerful without being cruel. This is the paradox of true strength, and the world respects it more than you know, because people may not always like you when you change, but they will feel it, they will adjust, or they will vanish, and both outcomes are victories. So, take a moment now and let it settle in. You do not have to tolerate anything that makes your soul shrink. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to honor your dignity, even if no one claps for it. Disrespect ends where self-reverence begins, and this reverence is not taught by the world, it is claimed, one brave choice at a time. Now we arrive at the final breath of this journey, the closing thought. The final mirror held up not to others, but to yourself. Because in the end, how you kill disrespect is not about controlling the world, but about remembering who you are in it. Let's close with the truth your soul already knows. You've walked through the silence, felt the sting of the unseen insult, learned to name it, disrespect, and now you stand on the other side of that awareness, holding a deeper truth. Not a truth spoken by others, but one remembered in the quiet moments, when no one else is watching, when it's just you, and the echo of your worth. This final moment is not a grand ending, but a return to something you were always meant to know. You do not owe your dignity to anyone. It was never a gift to be earned. It was never a favor someone else could give you. It was your inheritance, something ancient and sovereign, buried beneath years of apology, layers of fear, and the habit of shrinking so others could feel taller. You see, killing disrespect is not about fighting the world. It's about ceasing the inner war between who you are and who you've been pretending to be just to be accepted. Machiavelli, often misread as a prophet of cruelty, was instead a master of clarity. He never demanded ruthlessness. He demanded self-respect that does not beg. He asked you to understand this. If you do not command respect, you will be ruled by those who do. And it begins with small moments. Moments that look ordinary on the surface, but decide the course of your life. Moments when you choose to remain silent because your voice trembled. Moments when you laughed with them, even though you were the punchline. Moments when you stayed, knowing deep down you were already gone. But now, you're learning to return to yourself. To those of you that know better. To the you that doesn't have to shout to be heard, but no longer whispers to be tolerated. You return by remembering that self-respect is not pride. It's peaceful. Not arrogance, but alignment. It is choosing not to chase people, places, or titles that require you to abandon your value just to feel seen. The killing of disrespect begins and ends within. It dies the moment you decide, I will no longer confuse tolerance with virtue. I will no longer trade silence for survival. I will no longer wear humility like a leash. There is a kind of love the world fears, and it's not the loud, dramatic kind. It's the quiet, unwavering love you give to yourself when you walk away from what hurts, without bitterness, without drama, without needing anyone to understand. Because the truth is, you don't need them to understand. You only need to understand yourself. The world can misunderstand you. They can label your standards as ego, your solitude as arrogance, your boundaries as rejection. Let them talk. Let them guess. Let them tell stories about your distance. Because none of it matters when you know the truth. You are not cruel. You are clear. This clarity is your revolution. This is how you protect the kingdom of your soul. Machiavelli said that a ruler must learn how not to be good when goodness becomes the source of their destruction. In other words, there are moments in life when your survival demands defiance, when your peace demands detachment, when your dignity demands the courage to stop being liked and start being respected. And respect, real respect, does not come from perfection. It comes from presence, from walking into a room like you belong, without seeking approval, from looking someone in the eyes and saying no without guilt, from letting people leave and refusing to chase those who only valued you when you were convenient. That is how you kill disrespect, not by cutting others down, but by building yourself up, by becoming the kind of person who chooses themselves over and over again without apology. Not because you think you're better than anyone, but because you finally understand no one else gets to decide what you're worth. Not your past, not their opinions, not their silence. This is your crown. You don't have to wear it for them to see it. You wear it because it was always yours. The world will adjust, or it will leave. But either way, you'll stay standing, whole, unshaken, still, and maybe, in time, you'll find others like you. People who speak with depth, who move with integrity, who love without possession, and respect without condition. Because once you raise your standards, your life begins to filter itself. The noise fades. The real remains. So let this be your quiet rebellion. Not with fists, not with fire, but with presence. Calm, unmoved, undeniable. Let your life say what your lips no longer need to. I will not tolerate what wounds me. Let your boundaries be the proof that you have returned to yourself. Let your silence be sacred, not submissive. Let your detachment be love in its highest form. Love for the self you are no longer willing to betray. And when you feel the old habits rise, the urge to explain, to please, to shrink, remember this: there is no honor in staying small for people who never saw your full size to begin with. This is your turning point, not a moment of rage, a moment of remembering. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to be powerful, not in the Machiavellian sense of domination, but in the truest sense of self-possession. Power not over others, but over your own time, mind, and soul. Because when you own yourself, no one can offer you a price. and no one can disrespect what refuses to be diminished. So walk forward now, not louder, but deeper. With each step, release the need to be understood. Replace it with the need to be authentic. Choose the silence that builds you, the solitude that heals you, the dignity that protects you. This is how you kill disrespect, not once, not loudly, but daily, gently, with every boundary you draw, every truth you speak, every part of yourself you finally stop abandoning. This is not the end. It is the beginning of a life that no longer settles. Let them wonder why you changed. Let them feel the absence of your old self. Let them sit with what they lost when you found your voice. And may you never forget again. You were never meant to be tolerated. You were meant to be respected.